Hi everyone, I want to bring you a special highlight today, and that is a preview of the upcoming ARPG Torchlight Infinite. So I had a chance to try out the closed beta yesterday night on stream. I've played it for like 1.5 hours or so, and I had a pretty good time, and we had a lot of very curious people asking about the game and also signing up for the beta, which you can do right now with the link in the description if you want to try it out yourself. It is a closed beta, so it's like probably like waves of invites they send out, and it's not available in all regions, but you can try to get in. And otherwise, it's going to be released later this year, as far as I know, and it's going to come to mobile, to PC, and to console at the same time. So it's going to be on all the platforms. It's going to have controller support, everything you're going to imagine. And I felt this was a pretty good fit. I do want to highlight that this is a sponsored video. So I was specifically contacted by the company XD to play this game and to show it to my audience. But I figured this is a pretty good fit because it's ARPG. It's in the same genre like Diablo, PoE, and the stuff I usually do. And also for those of you that are especially looking for like a mobile release very soon, this feels very much like Diablo Immortal meets Path of Exile in my opinion. So it has a very nice match. For me, this is a bit of a novelty. That's actually my very first YouTube sponsorship I'm doing. I do get a lot of requests, and well, so far I have always turned them down, but I felt this was a pretty good one. And I generally had a pretty good time. So I want to talk a bit about my experiences with the game and just give you a bit of an impression. So I've been playing this Divine Shot class here. So the whole game is kind of like in like a more futuristic setting. It's not like this medieval, only swords kind of ARPG. So there's like technology, but also kind of like magic in there. And it does have like pretty solid like character customization systems that I enjoyed. I played this game on a mobile phone because this is the only platform that's available right now on the beta. But as I mentioned, it also comes to PC and console. And it does feel very intuitive with the controls, especially after having played Diablo Immortal already. You move with your left bump, you aim and use abilities with the right, and otherwise you just, press on any kind of interface buttons, and it is very intuitive, very natural controls, so I didn't have any issues with that. And it does seem to have quite some depth to it. Obviously, playing a ranged class, I had a lot of fun stutter stepping around, trying to dodge enemies and their attacks, and then just try to snipe them down from a distance. So you can do that, or you can play some of the other classes. There's like a berserker, like a melee type class, then there's some kind of like spellcasters. So the typical archetypes are all present. I think right now they have 5 different classes. And as you progress through the campaign, you just start unlocking more skills for your classes. You do quests, and you kind of go through the zones and have boss fights. And that is actually pretty cool. So one thing that I noticed is there's actually very frequent boss fights, as you can see here. And they do have, quite some dangerous abilities you have to be aware about when you start playing the game immediately. So they actually hurt in some cases, like you're gonna see later. I'm getting like one shot by some of them. It's not really a super hard game, and you can come back after a death and just finish off the boss. But you do have to pay attention to what you're doing on some of these enemies. And it's not like just like face roll through and that's it. So that is actually pretty cool. And I felt like immediately engaged with the game and with the systems. And it was really like recognizable. So to understand the skill system, right now there is a few different main abilities I have. For example, Burning Shot, which I've used for most of the playthrough. And it has different like support skills, they're called, and they alter the way this ability works in some way. So in this case, this jump has an extra ability that makes the projectiles fired from my gun jump to the next enemy, and it can hit 2 targets at the same time, and then deals a bit less to the second one. And then later on, I was getting access to other support gems as well. Something where you shoot multiple projectiles from the start, and then they could all jump to other enemies, but also deal less damage, for example. Or there's stuff where you deal more fire damage or more lightning damage, and depending on which elemental type you do, you have like some certain special effects. And there's all kinds of like, alterations you can do to your skill with that. And that's actually a really amazing concept. They have been inspired from PoE there. And I feel like the same level of configuration and customizability is present in most of the other character progression systems as well, like the talents. And you can really like mix and match things to your liking. And the way I understand the developers' intentions is also that this game is not going to be like, the super most competitive game, but instead it really focuses on this like exploration aspect, character building. And the best part is that it's all going to be without any kind of pay to win. So in case you are turned off by the fact that this exists, for example, in Diablo Immortal, then this might be actually more of a game for you, where you have microtransactions, but this is mostly going to be for skins and for pets and these kind of things. Aside from this, most of the other systems work, pretty intuitive if you have played other ARPGs. So you level up, you gain some extra skill points that you can spend, you gain extra items. There's like white items, magic items, rare items. So here they are purple and not yellow, but it's the same thing. And you just like progress through the storyline a bit. So I haven't really gone like super far, but I've completed like the first few zones. So here's like the map overview, and then you can select to teleport to different areas like with waypoints, and you can progress in this or that direction. And there's even optional quests where you can just go on exploration tours, and then there's going to be dungeons. It does run very smoothly. So what you can see here right now in the video is actually not as good as it was running on my phone. So this was a bit of a like stuttering picture capture here that I had because I had a bit of trouble with my capture card. But it was actually running very smoothly, so no issues there. The controls were fine, and it also looked pretty good on the phone. The graphic style is like very cartoonish, so this is just how Torchlight is made as far as I'm aware. I personally haven't played any of the Torchlight series, but I've heard pretty good things about the previous Torchlight games. And this seems to be just like as a, continuation of that series from Torchlight 2 as far as I know. And I think it does a pretty good job. One thing I noticed that wasn't running super smooth yet was mostly sound effects. So there is like a bit of like ambience and obviously the skill effects on yourself and your enemies. But for example, the dialogues are not voiced yet. I guess this will come at some point because sometimes there's these cutscenes during a boss fight and you don't really hear anything. So that was a bit weird. But I expect this is probably just like in a non-final state, and eventually it's gonna be fixed as well. Personally, I'm a big fan of having like tough and memorable boss fights, and I felt this was definitely the case in this game. So you immediately run into some of the big baddies, and that was a lot of fun trying to take them down, especially, trying to learn their abilities, dodge their abilities, and trying to do it deathless, which unfortunately didn't perfectly work out for me. But the cool part is when you die, you actually have a devlog here as well. So you can check out exactly what happened. You can click on the details even and find out what killed you. So that's actually a really nice novelty that is really missing from some of the other games that I've played. Overall, I gotta say that this was a pretty cool experience for me. I think that this is definitely a game to keep an eye out for in the future when it comes out. I can definitely see myself going back to playing it again and maybe go through the entire storyline. So it seems like they're also working a lot on the actual end game to give numerous activities that you can do, like some invasion type system where you have to like hunt down certain really strong foes, or some like climb a tower with increasing difficulty system. So there's pretty cool stuff like this, and that can, really push your character to the limits and give you great rewards in the end. One other thing that's pretty cool about the game is that it has this inbuilt help tool. So there's basically explanations for how the game works. If you want to read up on certain mechanics, it gives you a little bit of an overview with some screenshots, with a few lines, giving you the basic idea of how a system works, how gear works, how item nodes work, how certain stats contribute to a character's power. So that is really nice. So you just like open the menu in the top right and you have everything there. And then you can also quickly assign talents, pact points, your skill choices, and you can just like swap everything on the fly if you like. This is how the pact looks like. So you have these rings here. I didn't 100% get how you go from one node to the next, but it seems like you start at one point in this circle and then you kind of like go through one side and eventually unlock the outer circles with stronger extra bonuses. And on the talents, you go kind of like from left to right, and every 3 points you unlock the next step. And if you spend 3 points in one of these here, then you can take like a more rewarding, bigger point afterwards. So you kind of want to pre-plan this a little bit. But again, you can also just reset at any time. And every 10 levels, you get some kind of like specialty and extra bonus, which is pretty amazing. They also have a pretty cool like achievement system. So you can see this here. You have certain, milestones in character progression, like reach certain levels, reach certain life thresholds, clear certain quests and these kind of things. I guess there's going to be a lot more things later on, like, clear certain dungeons, acquire certain like legendary items and these kind of things. So I would imagine that all of this is going to be there as well. And you earn like, certain rewards for that with these tokens that you can use to like buy some upgrades for your character. And finally, there's the trade system that allows you to specialize even further into a certain like category or a certain direction with your character. So even though there's 5 classes right now, there is a lot of potential, a lot of replayability to just build them completely differently, use completely different abilities, and just mow down the enemies in pretty cool ways. So all of this sounds pretty amazing. I think that the character building in this game is going to be really awesome with the huge variety that is offered. And this concludes my overview here of the game. So hope you enjoyed it. And as I mentioned in the beginning, go check out the link in the description. It is free to sign up. And if you get lucky, you get invited in the closed beta to try it out immediately. Otherwise, you might get lucky later down the line. Personally, I think pretty good stuff. And I'm quite excited to see where this goes from here. So this is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it. And I'll see you guys next time.